Today, we have something a little different for you. Take a listen to this previously recorded interview. It's just too good, and we didn't want you to miss it. Enjoy the episode and join us again next week.
You're listening to the Infinite Banking Mastery Podcast. Did you know that you could build a tax-free pool of wealth that's liquid and accessible all your life while building your retirement nest egg? Gain full control of your financial future and stop relying on the government and banks. The wealthy have already discovered this wealth-building secret. Now it's your turn to get financially secure without following the conventional wisdom that keeps you in debt to banks. Now here's your host, Valerie LaRocque.
Valerie, thank you for joining us on the Infinite Banking Initiative. We want to start off by hearing how you discovered the infinite banking concept.
Yeah, well, first, I want to say thank you so much for having me. It's a real honor to be on your podcast today. So how I came across the infinite banking concept, it started off with entrepreneurship. I've been an entrepreneur since the beginning. And while I was a junior, actually, at the University of Washington, I was studying for my business degree in finance. And I was working for a coffee stand, which is a great job when you are in school because you can do a lot of studying. So I was working for this coffee stand who was about to close down. And the owners of the company came out and said, well, they're going to be destroying this whole parking lot where we have the stand. And we don't want to be around for that. So we're going to close. And it was really sad to me, actually, because I liked working there. And I didn't really feel like going out and finding a new job. So I just, for some reason, it came to me just to say, I think maybe I should buy it. How about I buy the stand from you and I'll just keep it going until we have to leave. And so those business owners said, well, sure, you can buy it from us. We're going to exit the business in that area. And so they sold me their equipment for a good price. And I continued to run the business there. I did quickly realize why they planned to sell, because it was very hard to do business as they started to destroy all the surrounding buildings. And so luckily for me, construction workers drink a lot of coffee. And so they kept us in business. And it was really dusty and dirty. But we were there and I was finishing out school. And then, as I was finishing and as we were coming to the end where we were going to have to leave because they were going to knock down the building behind us, it was a little push cart stand in front of the grocery store. We had to push it out every morning. Customers were asking me, well, where are you going to go? We still want to buy coffee from you. Where are you going to go? And I said, well, I've been in college and I'm getting this degree and I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I feel like I'm going to go out and get a job somewhere, start my career in the business industry. And everybody was sad. And so I said, well, let me just look around. And so I called the owner of the lot across the street from me. And I said, well, I'm thinking about moving the stand and maybe having a new location. They don't want me in this parking lot. They wanted a giant Starbucks in that parking lot. So I asked the owner across the street, and he just so happened to be a customer and already knew who I was. And so he entertained my idea and ended up allowing me to build a stand across the street. Because I had been a walk-up stand this whole time, I went ahead and built a stand where you had to get out of your car and walk up and stand outside to get a coffee because there wasn't enough room to build a larger building or a drive-through in that area. And drive-throughs really were very uncommon at that time. And so I ended up building that stand there. It was a whole thing, got a lot of good stories about that. And that was about a year later, roughly, right out of coming out of college, I was able to get that going. And so then I was running that stand and working all the hours, pretty much, working most of the hours. And then I had a friend of mine from the business school ask if I wanted to purchase a existing cafe in the Pike Place Market because they were going to move to a bigger kitchen. And so I said, well, I'm feeling kind of poor actually right now after starting this business, and I work a lot of hours. So I don't think I'm going to buy it. She wanted to manage it. She asked me to buy it and she was going to manage it. And so I told her, I don't think I can't take on more debt and buy this other business. I'm not able to do that. And so eventually, though, I said, well, maybe we could buy it together, and then it would be us doing this together instead of me taking on all of the risk. And so she agreed, and we bought this business together. And actually, in this process, my father had a life insurance policy that helped us to get started. And we didn't know anything at all about this strategy or anything. But thankfully for my dad, he had that cash value available to help me launch into my entrepreneurship while I was in college. And so then we start this cafe in the Pike Place Market. That was really fun. And we were there for about 4 years. So at the beginning, though, I had my coffee stand started, and then I had the business, the cafe in the Pike Place Market. And while I was running these two businesses, a friend of mine approached me from Primerica, who I'm sure a lot of people or a lot of listeners maybe have heard of. They are really about buy term and invest the difference. That's their whole punchline, really. So I entertained her. I said, okay, well, she wanted to, she's training. She was telling me I'm training, and will you allow me to teach you or talk to you so that I can be trained, and my uplines will come and teach you and talk to you. And so I said, okay, that's fine. I will be happy to do that for you to help you in what you're doing. And so I met with them, and they were talking about term insurance. And I said, yeah, that sounds really smart. Everybody should have life insurance. Like, what? This is a good idea. Like, if I die, somebody should get some money. And so I purchased my first life insurance policy from them. At that time, I was in my early 20s. And they said, wow, you're young, and not a lot of young people think that they should have life insurance that aren't already married or have children. And so you should join this business. You should be in this industry with us. And I said, well, I'm running two businesses, so it seems a little much. I don't know if I can handle that. He said, oh, you should just sell those businesses and come join. And I said, I think I'll try it, but I'm not going to sell all the other businesses. I'll just work on that in the evening. And so I would open my coffee stand in the morning. In the middle, I'd run around, get inventory. Then I'd go close the other one downtown. And then in the evening, I was studying for my life insurance license and trying to help customers. It was then that I quickly realized, nobody wants to talk about dying. Nobody at all wants to talk about dying. And so even though it's inevitable and it's definitely going to happen, they don't want to talk about it. So it was at that time that I decided I should get licensed in the securities industry. So while I was at Primerica, I obtained my securities 6 and 63 license to be able to speak about retirement and mutual funds and things like that. Topics people do like to talk about. And so we were talking, I was able to get more appointments really with clients from that. And we would sit down and talk about retirement and life insurance. And so I was doing those two things when my landlord, he came around and I said, I'm really thinking I need to do something else with my career, maybe turn this into a drive-through and go do something else with my career. And so I ended up selling the cafe in the Pike Place Market. My business owner friend and I, we sold it. And then I still had the coffee stand. And I said, I'd really like to make at least 6 figures. So who can you connect me with that I could work and make this money? And he kind of laughed at me. But he then connected me to a friend of his who was in construction. I met with him and he said, well, Valerie, I don't think this is a good fit for you. I think you need to be out there talking to people and not in a cubicle. And I said, okay, well, that wasn't very helpful, but I appreciate you sitting with me and maybe hiring me until you weren't going to hire me. And then I told my landlord friend, well, that didn't work out. And he said, I have a financial advisor and he works at a major broker dealer. And so he's looking for an assistant. And so even though I had no idea what they did at that broker dealer at that time, even though I had just stepping into the securities industry very lightly, I called and I told them that I'm here, you're looking for an assistant and I know I can do that job. So when can I meet you? And he said, oh yeah, well, send in your resume, send it in right away. And we will have an interview with you on Friday. It was a Wednesday. And so I submit my resume and get that over to him, even though I had never done one. And so I was concerned about the quality of the resume. It turned out it wasn't that good of a resume, but they allowed an interview. I went in to see them. And at the end of talking with those people, he said, well, Valerie, unfortunately, you're not qualified to be our assistant because we're looking for someone who's fully licensed to be able to trade stock and all of that. And so I said, okay. And he goes, but we actually think you'd be a good financial advisor here with us. So instead of being our assistant, we would like for you to join our team as an advisor. And so, of course, that was shocking to me because I thought, I don't know how I could not be qualified to be your assistant, but instead I should be advising clients. But I will go ahead and accept that. So I was excited and I took that career, that job, and started working in that industry in that location. And so I was in the financial industry, in the securities industry, helping people with trading, investments, and that sort of thing, and mutual funds. In 2008, when everything got really ugly and lots of clients lost lots of money. And at that time, I just remember looking around and saying, wow, all of us here, all these advisors in this room, and not a single one of us helped anybody not lose roughly 40% of their account. And so I just thought, what are we doing here? I don't know how we're helping people if you might have done a great job with your investments and we might have done the best due diligence we could do and everything is the best it could do. And maybe it's been performing super well all your life, but then the day before you need it and you were counting on that balance, you might end up with half. And so all these people who were planning to retire, say tomorrow, now suddenly felt like they could never retire. And so I just thought, how are we helping people with this? I don't feel confident telling my loved ones and people I care about, hey, this is going to work for you. This is going to be a great fit for your future. This is going to be help you reach your retirement goals. When at the end of the day, I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow, and neither does anybody else. And so how can any of us really tell you that this is going to get you to your goals when you really don't know what's going to happen? So I think more of that industry as being something you can diversify with if you choose to, and you understand the level of risk, knowing you might lose some dollars and being okay with that. But for your foundational savings, I think you need to have something with guarantees in place, something safer, something that will be there to grow. But at that time, I just thought, well, I guess I don't feel like comfortable doing this. I think I'm going to step away and just step out of the industry for a while or maybe forever. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I felt uncomfortable trying to tell people that I would help them hit their retirement goal and not knowing if we actually would be able to achieve that at all. And so I was working for an assisted living company after that. And then a previous manager in the industry came and found me there. And he said, what are you doing here? You're got all these licenses. Why are you working in this industry? I said, I feel like I'm just kind of lying to people in that industry. I don't feel like I can do that. I don't know if I'm actually going to help them reach their goals. And there's too much volatility and all of that. And he said, well, you just didn't learn all the ways to help people. And so you should allow me to come and come back in the industry and allow me to teach you how to help people in different ways with different products. And so I did. I decided to go meet with this person and learn more about what he was doing. And it was at that time that I learned the world of IULs, because that was certainly popular, very exciting for people. And it was becoming like the next big thing. People love these IULs. And at first I thought, yeah, they're actually pretty good because it's way safer than the stock market is what I was thinking, because it had that 0% floor and you have an opportunity to still earn interest. And so I thought this is a great thing. And so I helped many people with that. And I liked it. I had a bunch myself. I had 6 contracts myself. And then I was doing that business when then I came across and met my mentor, Joe Pantozzi. We were at a dinner together, and so we were just, I didn't have anywhere to sit. So I asked if I could sit next to him, and we just started talking, and he's an easy person to get to know and talk with. So we got to know each other very well. And he started telling me about this book that I should read, and this concept that he was using in his life and how he was using it to purchase his business and all of that. And I said, well, what is it that he's talking about? And at first, because we had been in a long conversation, I thought, I don't know, that maybe it's a little complicated. I don't know. Finally, I'm feeling good about myself. I feel like I can really help people with investments and the insurance world with these IULs. And so I was feeling like I was well diversified in helping people and with disability insurance and all of that. And so I wasn't listening super well like I should have been. And it was the following week where I found out that he was actually the number one agent in the nationwide company that I was working with at the time. And I thought, wow, I should have really been listening to what that guy had to say, because he's obviously knows what he's doing. And so I was trying to remember the name of the book he told me to read, and I couldn't remember. I didn't see him again for about 6 more months. And when we saw each other, I said, hey, remember me? You told me to read a book or something. Like, what was this book? And so he shared with me, you need to read Becoming Your Own Banker by Nelson Nash. And then we'll have a meeting and I'll share with you and explain it to you so you can ask any questions and understand. And so I did that. And about a month later or so, we connected, and he just, in a 1-hour meeting, he just blew my mind wide open. And I thought, why doesn't everybody know this? Why doesn't every single person understand this information? Whether or not a person is able to do it, or we're able to bring that into their life, or able to act on it, I think it's just important for all people to know what's happening with your money, what you can do to better protect your money, and the magic really of whole life contracts and how you can utilize them for your own financial future and growth. And so I was thrilled. I couldn't believe that there was something out there that made so much sense and that had never been taught to me and should be probably taught in high school or something. And so I asked him if he would help me. And I'm sure he was a very busy man, having been number one. But thankfully for me, he was gracious, and he said, sure, I will help you with learning this. And so he took me under his wing. For about 3 years, he was mentoring me in this concept and helping all my clients online before it was normal and everyday business. He was helping me and helped me to learn how to teach people, really, because what's actually happening in the contracts, it's pretty simple. I feel like what's actually happening at the end of the day is a simple process. But a lot of people take a long time to get to that simplicity because they're tripped up on the why. Why would I do this? Why does this make sense? And why is this so much different than anything else I've learned up till now? Why should I be doing this? And so that's really where the learning came in, was for him to teach me how to help people understand the why. From there, I feel like I was very well trained. I feel super blessed. I was able to meet Nelson Nash because that was his mentor. And so he had seminars with Nelson, and I flew down to Las Vegas to attend one of those and got to meet Nelson and have lunch with him and got to know Mary. And it was really super great. And I'm just endlessly grateful for that opportunity to have met him. It's completely changed my life. And I'm just grateful for I'm glad I ever got to meet Nelson, actually, because I know not every one of us practitioners had the opportunity to meet Nelson and have conversation with him and listen to him tell the story and tell the story behind his book and explain it live and in person. I think it's really great, actually, to hear him explain that, because he just says it so peacefully, so not, so this is just how it is, and so simply. And it just makes it like, oh yeah, that makes sense, because you just said it so simplistically. That's how simple it really is. And the way he told the story, just easy to understand, I feel like, when you're a listener. So that's really my very long story on how I got into infinite banking. It really just started off on a whole different path of entrepreneurship, and then redirected and just kind of fell into it. And I'm grateful of the mentors and the people that the good Lord put in front of me and allowed me to meet and direct my path up till this point. And now I get to do what I love and help people do something amazing every day. I'm super grateful.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. You certainly had quite the journey to get to where you are today. What was your first thought when you read Becoming Your Own Banker, having the background that you had up until that point?
Yeah, I just thought, wow, I can't believe there's something that really has guarantees in place. We couldn't say the G word at the broker dealer where I work. That's a big no-no. You would get fired for saying the G word. Can't say G word. It felt really just, it felt great to be able to tell people, I can help you with something. It's going to be incredibly powerful. Really, the infinite banking concept is the most powerful thing you can do, I strongly believe. And all the options out there, what you can do to be growing and protecting your cash, your wealth. I feel like it's one of the most powerful things you can do if you are actually treating yourself like an honest banker. If you're taking the steps and paying yourself back with interest and more interest than the insurance company is charging, I feel like it is the most powerful thing that you could do. And then alongside that allows you to do other things. You can still invest in other things that you are really passionate about. You don't have to select this or that. You can do both things. And so I just think when I first read it, I just couldn't believe it. And I just couldn't believe something like this was out there and had been out there for centuries and nobody knows about it, and how powerful it is to be able to bring it into your financial picture in addition to whatever else you might be passionate about investing in, say real estate or something like that. It just goes so well with all sorts of other types of things that you want to do.
So how has IBC impacted your life, using it personally?
Yeah, IBC has been a big deal in my life. I just went all in myself. I love it. And whenever we've had an increase in income, we have just gotten another policy. So we have gotten up to 9 contracts now. We're just housing as much of our savings dollars as we possibly can in these contracts. And then I use them for anything that I need to, and then finance, say, my kids' school costs through the policies, or if we need some major home remodel, I've been able to finance that through the policies. Because as I was mentioning before, you don't have to choose between investments. You don't have to choose between whole life and another investment. But it's also not just for that. It's also to be able to take over the things you want to finance just in your life, just your day-to-day things. And so I've used it a lot for that as well. Just funnel as much money as I'm able to into my savings vehicle, the whole life policy, and then use it for whatever I need to finance. That's a major purchase. And so I'm grateful to be capturing the earning power of all those dollars, as many as I can get through.
Do you still own those IULs?
I do not. I do not own the IULs. I waited until they were close to the surrender charges being able to be not so large. And then I didn't wait for the full surrender to be over. I went ahead and just terminated and then rolled that money over into whole life contracts. And for some people who have those contracts already, I oftentimes will say, well, if you're in the surrender charge period and it's you don't want to kill that contract right now and lose all that money that you've had inside, there is an opportunity to lower your death benefit and then lower the cost. And then you're able to keep that going, but then it frees up those dollars to be able to redirect if you want a product that's more stable and safer for the use of the infinite banking concept. That's one way to get around that.
Do you still own the coffee shop?
I sometimes I wish I do. It was really fun. Having a coffee shop was super fun. And then being in the Pike Place Market where you get to watch the guys throwing the fish whenever you want to. We used to trade them soup for fish, which was an excellent deal for us. Yeah, they would give us big fat discounts on halibut and things like that while we traded them soup that they could eat in the cold weather. I loved it. We did have the coffee stand, or I had the coffee stand for about 7 years. And I had it simultaneously while I was working at the broker dealer for a little while. And it was fun. So I would even go to work 5 days a week there. And then on the weekend, I would go serve coffee. And so people would get an update on my life at the investment, at the investing for people. And then back and forth. So it was a lot of fun. And I do miss it. Sometimes I kind of want to jump behind the counter where I'm at and just start making the coffee. Let me do it. I want to make my own coffee. Sounds fun.
Seattle, Washington, Pike Place, coffee. What does that make you think of? I don't know if I can do a trademark step over or not, but it sounds like you're about maybe 10 years or 15 years too late, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so where my coffee stand was the one where I relocated it, turned out that the parking lot that I left, they did get a Starbucks into their lot. It's still there. They got a Starbucks into their lot. And actually, I think they've moved it now since then. I think that one's moved, but it was there for a very long time. And so I was then competing with that stand across the street. And then soon after, a bunch of drive-thrus started funneling in. And I'm like, oh no, these drive-thrus, because I had to be really entertaining for people to want to get out of their car and talk to me in the cold if it was raining. I did have a little roof that extended out, but I was competing with these other drive-thrus who came in. And then there was just a lot of coffee stands pretty soon. So then it was a lot harder to keep it going. But I did try for a moment to get it changed into a drive-through, but that was a very difficult thing to do. And eventually the landlord said, no, we're not going to totally disrupt the flow of the parking lot to be able to make this a drive-through. So I ended up having to just sell that business. Yeah.
Did you ever get any sleep those years, or are you working 24 hours a day?
I was working a lot of hours, actually. Yeah, I would open the stand at like 6 a.m. and then close the other one. I'd probably leave there about 5. And then I would be working on studying the life insurance industry or the securities industry, and then trying to help. I was helping a lot of coffee customers because that's who I was in front of all the time. And I think at first they were like, you're serving me coffee and now you want to help me with my retirement and life insurance. And I don't know if you know all these things. I don't know if I should charge you with all these things, and maybe you should just stick with my coffee. I think it's hard to switch industries like that, or when somebody knows you for a certain thing and then now you're trying to do something else. Like, it takes a while for them to be comfortable with what you're doing now. But I was able to help a lot of those customers, and the ones who really were solid and trusted me and knew that I had their back and I was looking out for them and trying to do the best that I possibly could for them at that time. And, and a lot of them too, I've even carried with me and been able to help them and as it transitioned and say, okay, I'm glad you were covered and I'm glad we did that. But actually, this is really brilliant. And if you're able to do this, this is going to be very powerful in your life, and we should go there.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about that. How have, what kind of impact have you seen in your clients' lives that IBC has had?
Yeah, I have some great stories with clients and what they've been able to do. And I think it's just amazing, some of the things, and they have a lot of great ideas. Clients will come up with their own ideas of things I have not even thought of. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great way to use your policy. And so just watching their ideas and what they come up with is pretty cool. I've had people who wanted to buy commercial property, but then they couldn't afford then because they had their existing property and now they have this property and they couldn't afford all the payments at the moment. And so, of course, we're always teaching clients that you want to set up a loan repayment with interest, amortize, and all this stuff so that you're paying attention and that you're being an honest banker. But in some situations, the flexibility can help someone out. And so, and it's one of the cases, a person was trying to buy a commercial property, but then was still leasing a property and couldn't move and couldn't afford the new mortgage, their lease, and now a life insurance loan. And so we were able to put that life insurance loan on pause for about a year while he moved in, transitioned, got rid of the building where he was leasing. And it was amazing. And so then after that year, we touched base. And he said, okay, well, now what does it look like if I want to pay this loan off at this rate over, say, 15 years or whatever? And so I amortized that out for him and created the documents. And then he got put up on a good payment plan to repay that loan and being an honest banker from that point forward, doing a very good job. And so being able to have that flexibility to not have to pay for that year. I mean, what loan can you get for, say, $250,000 and then not pay anything for a year? That's miraculous. And so he was able to do that. And then from there, we set up a very solid loan repayment for him, and he's almost got it paid off now. So it's pretty great to watch what people can do and how it helps their lives, really.
Well, what is something that you wish you would have known from the very beginning? What would you say to yourself if you could go back?
Yeah, I think I would say to myself what I hear everybody say every time they learn this concept, which is just, I wish I would have started sooner. I wish I would have known of this sooner. Just about every single person that I've spoken to, I want to say every single person, who's actually fully learned and understands, who've read the book, who understands and gotten all their questions answered. Everybody has said, I wish I would have known of this sooner. I wish I could have gotten started sooner. And I feel blessed to have been able to get into this and start teaching people this in my 30s, because that's still somewhat young. But had I learned it first and not had to go through the whole process and watching clients be devastated with the downfall of the market and all of that, that would have been much more terrific if I could have learned it right off the bat. But for me, it was a little delayed, but I'm still grateful I was able to get in and learn when I did. But yeah, that's one thing that it's just fun to hear people every single time, one after the other. I wish I would have known of this sooner, and I wish I would have started it sooner. And so that's why it's great, I think, when people can start something for their children. And I feel grateful that I was able to start policies for my children, like basically right when they were born. And so they have all those years now to build the policies, because since time is your greatest asset, truly, they have all that time to build on that and then hopefully, start their own banking systems. But yeah, really just sooner, just like everybody else. I wish I would have known of it sooner.
And you have, a great mentor in Joe Pantozzi. Can you talk to us a little bit about the importance of having, someone like that in your life?
Yeah, I think having a strong, solid mentor is important, especially when you're first learning this concept, because it's easy to feel like, oh yeah, I can do that. I can just run with it and do it. But there are so many things to know and so many things you can tweak and learn and different situations that different people have. And so it's nice when you're learning this industry and learning how to help people in this way to have a solid mentor who can help guide you and answer questions. And then that really then you become like your mentor. Then you have all that knowledge and you're able to help people in many, many ways. And so having a strong mentor like that is truly invaluable. I am endlessly grateful for him being there for me and helping me really, truly learn. And then knowing just how he was, kind of one of the originals working with Nelson. He was mentored and trained by Nelson. And so I know that he has the most solid information, and I just feel grateful to have been connected even to Nelson that closely, just 2 degrees away. And so I think anybody who wants to be in doing this with a practitioner, or any practitioner who wants to be in this industry, should have a very strong mentor, and then not be afraid to partner with them and work with them for a good period of time. I would say 1 to 2 years at least, to really get a good understanding and be solid in what you're teaching people.
Well, so given your background and, I think that has made you, a stronger practitioner and, a better advisor for your clients. But surely you've heard some of these arguments against IBC. How do you debunk those when you come across them?
Yeah, I mean, I am grateful for the history, my background, because I do think it helps, and people will see that I know those other things too, and I can actually still help them in that area if they really want to be in that direction or be more diversified or whatever. I can help people in many, many different ways. But I do think that having that background it's invaluable, really, to be able to help people navigate what they want to do and how they're going to reach that retirement goal. And Leigh, can you repeat that question? I feel like I'm missing some portion of it.
No, that's great. What were some of the arguments that you hear against IBC, and how do you debunk those arguments?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like one of the major ones is it's too good to be true. I mean, I feel like that's the most common one from people who have done no learning, basically, or who haven't read the book. I have a lot of people that I've tried over my career to just teach, because I'm like, oh yeah, I can teach this even though they don't know anything about it. I think I can teach it cold when they don't know have any information. And just about every single time they've said, this is too good to be true. It's not possible what you're saying. And so that's why over the years, I would always try to get someone to read first, but sometimes I would waver and say, that's okay, I'll try to teach you. But now now you have to read, because you're going to think it's too good to be true unless you have some sort of foundational baseline of understanding. And so I think that's probably the main objection that I've heard. And so long as they read the book first, Becoming Your Own Banker, they don't have that. They don't feel that way. It sets them up and walks them through how it's possible. And so that's really what I lean on, is just, you really got to do some reading and learn and do some learning so that you won't feel that it's too good to be true. And you'll be able to see how it's possible to do this. It's amazing. I'm trying to think of any other objections that I come across. I would say, rate of return, that might be another one. Where's the rate of return? And I just tell them that this is not the place to come for rate of return. We're not comparing it to the investment world, since it's not an investment, it's an asset, what we're using, whole life contracts. And so we're not comparing it to investments. You don't come here for your rate of return. You come here for the safety, for the growth, for what you're able to do to build that pool of cash and to finance your purchases or other investments that you want to do through it. But that we're not coming here for the rate of return. You can use your policy if you want and go out and invest in something where you're seeking that rate of return. But this is not the place where we're looking for major growth similar to like the stock market or something. No.
Well, how have you grown in your practice since you have started this journey?
Well, I would say that the majority of my practice now is helping people with this concept. It is what I'm the most passionate about. I love teaching the infinite banking concept. I wake up with joy and excitement to who am I going to get to help today. It's just the best thing I get to do is to help them. And so I get to do that. And then of course I'm able to help them with other things as well, because I do help people with disability insurance, long-term care insurance. And a lot of times you can wrap some of these things in and kind of hit them all with one stone when you're working with whole life policies. But I'm grateful to be able to just do what I do, wake up joyful, and help people navigate the world of investments and figure out how this can fit into their financial picture. And I do feel it can fit into almost anyone's financial picture. I mean, some people out there might say, "Oh, that wouldn't work for me. I don't have enough income or enough money to do it," or something. And I think even if you're able to start, even on a small level, it's still going to help you to just get started. And I think just about anybody, so long as you're insurable, that this is a great fit for, honestly. Did I answer all your question, Lee?
Yes, you did.
I get off track because I start talking about other things.
No, I love it. I love hearing it. Well, so as we wrap up our time, can you just share with us what IBC means to you?
IBC means freedom, financial freedom, just freedom for your future, your family, your retirement, your ability to finance things. It means a lot. It's powerful in my life. I just appreciate that I've learned it. I'm grateful for it. Just being able to build and slowly build, even if you're starting small, build what you can and be able to take over more of that financial things you need to finance in your life, can relieve stress, can bring more joy to your life. You're not worried maybe about financial things going on because now you have control over what you're doing and the loans that you're making. And so I think just having that in your life can bring down the stress and can bring you more confirmation or more feel more strongly and more feel more confident in your future and your retirement, knowing that you're going to have this, you're going to have something that's going to be there. It's not going to disappear at the whims of the market. So it just brings you more peace in your heart to know that you are building something and that you can build something that you know is going to be there to help you in those years when you need to be able to access passive income. Or if you suddenly have a major expense come from nowhere, you know what you can do. You can reach into your system and finance it through yourself. And so it's like a good fallback for emergency savings too. I mean, IBC just is such a big part of our lives, and we put a lot through there, and we're just grateful for it, and knowing that we're building something for our future, for our children to leave as a legacy, that we have the freedom to use the dollars in our life, to recycle those, to pay ourselves back, to build our systems, and to know that at the end of the day, we will leave a legacy to our children, and then they can continue the process with what they've already built, but also just continue it on to the generations. And so it's just very powerful overall in our lives, I would say.
Thank you so much, Valerie.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.